When I first saw the house on Hollow Lane, it was love at first sight. The Victorian charm, the wraparound porch, and the enormous oak tree in the front yard. It was everything I'd dreamed of and more. The realtor's price seemed suspiciously low, but she dismissed my concern with a tight smile.
It needs some work, that's all.
She said. I should have asked more questions. The first few days were fine. I spent my evenings unpacking boxes and painting walls, the smell of fresh paint mingling with the musty scent of old wood. Sure, there were strange creaks and groans, but it was an old house. I brushed it off as settling. That changed on the fourth night. I was brushing my teeth when I heard it. A faint knocking sound, coming from the hallway. My heart skipped. "Hello?" I called out, stepping cautiously into the dark corridor. No response. I laughed nervously and shook my head. "Relax, Jessica," I muttered, heading back to the bathroom, but the knocking came again, louder this time. 3 distinct raps, deliberate and unrelenting. I followed the sound to the end of the hall, stopping in front of a door I hadn't noticed before. It blended into the wall, painted the same color. When I turned the knob, the door creaked open to reveal a narrow staircase leading down into darkness. Cold air rushed up to meet me, carrying the faint scent of earth and decay. My phone's flashlight barely illuminated the steep steps. I told myself I should leave it alone, but curiosity pulled me forward. The staircase ended in a tiny, windowless room. The walls were lined with shelves, each holding a glass jar. Inside the jars were odd, unsettling objects: a rusted key, a porcelain doll's arm, a lock of hair tied with a ribbon. And then I saw the writing. Scrawled across the walls in jagged, angry letters were the words, "Leave now." My stomach dropped. As I turned to head back up the stairs, a shadow moved in the corner of the room. It wasn't mine. The shadow twisted and writhed, forming a vaguely human shape. Its voice was low and raspy, like dry leaves scraping against stone.
Why did you come here?
It demanded. I didn't know, I stammered, backing toward the stairs.
You don't belong.
It hissed, stretching toward me. The flashlight flickered and died, plunging me into darkness. Panic surged, and I bolted up the stairs, slamming the door behind me. My hands trembled as I shoved a chair under the doorknob. The rest of the night, I lay in bed, every creak of the house sending waves of fear through me. I told myself it was my imagination, that old houses always made strange noises. But by the next morning, I couldn't deny the truth. Something was wrong with this house. I called the realtor, demanding answers. After a long silence, she finally admitted.
You're the first person to stay more than a week. Most people leave after a few nights.
"Why didn't you tell me?" I yelled.
Would you have believed me?
She replied flatly. I hung up, determined to leave. But as I packed, the knocking returned. This time, it wasn't confined to the hidden door. It came from the walls, the floor, even the ceiling knocks in a deliberate pattern, almost like a heartbeat. Then, just as suddenly it stopped, I paused, holding my breath, when I heard the creak of a floorboard behind me.
Jessica.
A voice whispered, cold and breathy. I spun around, but there was no one there. The air felt heavy, suffocating, and the shadows in the room seemed to stretch toward me. Grabbing my car keys, I ran. But the moment I stepped outside, the air grew impossibly still. The oak tree's branches hung motionless, and even the birds had gone silent. I reached the car, fumbling with my keys, when I felt a hand, cold and clammy, on my shoulder. I turned, and everything went black.
No one knows what happened to Jessica. The next day, neighbors noticed her car still parked in the driveway, the house eerily quiet. When the police were called, they found the door open and the inside completely empty. Her belongings were still scattered throughout the house, but Jessica was gone. In the basement, they found the jars untouched, and the words on the wall, "Leave now." Some say she became part of the house, another shadow lingering in the corners. Others claim to hear faint knocking when they walk by. But one thing is certain: no one has ever seen Jessica again.